It took way too long for me to get this thing to do what I wanted it to do. It was so hard. Like everything else, it really come down to just learning the basics, the foundation. Um, because once you learn how to do one thing, it kind of snowball from there. And it's, learning a new language. So once you start to learn how to say a few things, it kind of builds on from there. And this is a new language, isn't it? Learning the Unreal Engine. I was gonna use this to rant through my code that I had to jump through to get it to work, but that's not why you're here. So let's take a look at let's take a look at our model, so-called progress so far. This is a live model, so we can walk around it. Let's go. So as you can see, the boiler is now on the frame. Before we look into that, where we left off was getting these wheels and these gear to move and to work together, and now we have that. Let's take a look. Oh, here we go. Oh, and to get these rockers and valves to move, you gotta set the Johnson bar, obviously. Now it's in neutral, so there's no motion. But we drop the Johnson bar forward, now we get that motion. And it's so smooth, look at that. This is 10 feet per second. Nice modest jog for a little engine. And we can go faster and it's still going to be smooth. It's about 20, which our little engine will never see speed anything faster than this on the tracks. We slow down a little bit, we can see how all the parts move together better. If you remember last time, I was talking about getting the animation to work, the baked in animation, and this is not baked in. This is real time, procedural, and mathematically driven by code. And it results in a much better fluid motion across all range of speeds, even backwards, forward, and baked in animation I don't think would have had the flexibility that this model really needs. Like, for example, for the rocker movement, it's not just about the speed but also about the amplitude. How much it moves also depends on the position of the Johnson bar, and how fast it moves, of course, depends on how fast the drivers are turning. So when it's code driven, we get that flexibility. And in the frames, we see the eccentrics and the eccentric straps all moving accordingly. Not too bad, right? Okay, let's see some other features on this model. So a lot of the exterior parts, exterior as in things that are not in the cab, obviously the cab's still missing. The back head and all the associated plumbing This side is going to get a lot more, it's getting a lot busier once the plumbing, especially once the air compressor goes in right here. That's going to have a lot of associated pipes and valves, and they're all going to run on this side. Other than the pipes, most of the parts are in. You've already seen these lubricated cups that we can open to check the lubrication inside. But this part is new. This is the what do you call it? Mechanical the mechanical lubricator. It lubricates the steam chest and the pistons. The lubrication reservoir is inside this box, and then it works off the motion. You can see this little arm on the stem, on the valve stem here. So when this moves, this arm moves along with it, and it has a crank on this side of the box. There it is, right in front. So this cranks out lubrication from the reservoir through these tubes, and one goes to the left steam chest, one goes to the right steam chest, and that lubrication gets mixed with the hot steam, and that gets coated on all the surfaces in the steam chest and the cylinders and pistons, and thereby lubricating it. So it only works when the engine is in motion. How do you lubricate it when it's not in motion? Well, we have this little crank that we can use to crank the lubrication through the tubes ourselves. I don't know how many cranks it takes. I imagine quite a bit because these tubes are long. If you know, do let me know. I'm curious. But I imagine it takes quite a few cranks to get these lubrications through. And right behind it, this window here, this glass shows you the amount of lubrication. Nothing there at the moment, just like anywhere else. There's a plunger here, forcing the lubrication into the rockers. Same principle, just kind of priming the lubrication in these parts. Here we have the blowdown, and right above it here, this little valve also you can turn. This is the air tank drain. That being the air tank right here. And underneath this boiler here, there's one of the washout plugs. Well, here's a quiz for you guys. How many washout plugs are there on this engine? If you have the plan books, you can open and check that out now and start counting. we'll go around and count it together. But all of them are there. All of them are modeled in here. But we'll come back to it. One thing to I guess say about the color is the color is work in progress. The intent is to paint this model as a kind of a vintage original color, because most of the pictures are black and white, so this is kind of the best guess. I do believe that it had two shades of red. There's a darker red on top, and the wheels get the brighter red. The smoke stack and the smoke box, I think, were nearly the same gray. And I I don't think it was this reflective silver that we have on the engine now. So this is what we're seeing in this model. Here's another question for you guys. These, what are these? 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These 6 locks around the smoke box door. Do you know what they're called? They're called dogs. And we can unlock them. And then open. Yes, and what's inside? All right. Inside the smoke box, we have this branch of pipes here. This is from the steam dome. It's a pipe from the steam dome down through the boiler, and then it branches out to either side. One goes to the left steam chest, one goes to the right steam chest. The 2 nozzles in the middle, these are the exhausts. So steam enters through the big pipes, gets exhaust out through the middle, and then up the stack. These 4 bolts they're stay bolts. They run through the length of the boiler, and there are 4 corresponding bolt heads on the back of the boiler. And then of course these are the tubes from the firebox. And yes, this is the correct amount of tubes and correct arrangement. And as we close the door and lock, watch these dogs. They don't all move at the same time. There's a little bit of organic animation to it. And on a hinge, we even got these pins. These are here's a new air brake model, and I'm just gonna move the rod out of the way a little bit. Oop. There we go. And this moves now. It's all rigged up, so we can set the brakes and release the brakes, and all the links move together correspondingly. So a huge difference from the model in Sim 1. And coming back into the back head and the cab area. Not much in here yet, but there's a few placeholders. These are the first two valves that we're using to test out the functionalities. The tricocks. They do spin and move in and out as they should. The bottom, we have the new firebox door. Same as the first sim, you unlock it and then you can open it. And what's in there? Nothing. Missing all the sound effects, obviously. Oh, there's a little bit of a geometry issue here that I have to look into. And the Johnson bar is animated. And click on it to release the latch, and all the links move together with it. And of course on the outside, as you move the Johnson bar, the reach rod and the lifting shaft all move together as well. Even the spring It's animated, so when you unlatch it, this spring is going to compress slightly. Watch. There it is. Coming back around this side again, we can inspect the sand tube. You can see the flange and how it's bolted onto the base of the sand dome. It's the bell cradle. We have this little indentation for the bell pins and the mounting bolts on top there. Yeah, you can see the reflection of the stack in the handrail. This model is just really made to be inspected. Like I said, how many boiler washout plugs are there? Let's count them. We have all of them. 1. Did you see it? 2. Is it gonna be more than 10 or less than 10? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is a cover. And 8. So we got all 8 washout plugs modeled. This is another drain valve for the rear air tank, also operable. Man, you can see the reflection of the drivers in the boiler jacket there. One thing about the boiler jacket is that, well, like I said, the colors are not final. This is, I don't know if it's controversial, but the color of the boiler jacket seems to stir up a lot of discussions. The version that I have now is mostly dark black, but it has this kind of a bluish tint, dark blue, kind of sapphire reflection to it, as opposed to just plain black or gray, which might be the case. But like I said, it's I'm working on a lot of black and white photos. And on the side of the boilers at the rear where the firebox sits, we have all these stay bolts, these bolt heads. And that suspends the firebox inside the boiler. We can, well, let's take a look. Let's see. Yeah, these guys. So you can see the outline of the firebox here inside the boiler, and these bolts. suspend the firebox inside. In Sim 1, these were just texture, but they do have protrusion from the side, so they are modeled in this version. Oh, in here in the frame, there's a little handle here. This is the manual blowdown handle. You pull on it to activate the blowdown. I'm pretty sure it's a pull action as opposed to a turn, which what I thought was it to be before. But the blowdown valve is pneumatically operated. So the air is used to open the valve, and when there's no air, you can manually operate it by pulling the valve open. Right, and that's been done before. Let's take a look at what I had open here. This is the number 5 coming up the roundhouse back in the dinosaur ages. Alright, so I think it was Craig telling us to stand back, and Paul comes around the engine and he's gonna pull up on a plunger to activate the manual blowdown. And I believe this was the case because the blowdown valve did not have air yet. There were some I think just some minor things to be finished on the engine at the time. Sweet. All right, guys and gals, that is our model update so far. Next big item obviously will be the cab and then the plumbing. Maybe not in that order. We still need the tender before we can call the engine finished, and then of course we'll gotta try to get this thing going. As far as all the interactions, the thermodynamics, and then the physics. But those are the big milestones to hit. Maybe we'll get there someday. but at this point, I think it's looking pretty good. Pretty good. I'm gonna post some comparison pictures between this model and the Sim 1 model, and I think it's going to be very obvious, if not already, how much of an improvement this model is. It's a lot more detailed, and still is going to be better in performance, because the modeling is just cleaner. So yeah, look out for the blog post that will be linked below this video, where we'll take a closer look at all the details that we have here. One thing that is one thing that I purposefully not put in is these spoiler bands. They do not have edges on them. They're just flat. They don't have rolled edges, and it's because I am gonna reuse this spoiler for the EP Ripley, which does not have the rolled edges. And you know, it turns out the rolled edges do not they don't render that well because it's so small. They don't render that well on the computer, so they actually look better flat without the rolled edges. So there you go. Some shortcuts there. Oh, there, with all this talk about the running gear being so complete, I purposely left out one component because I did not want to deal with it. You can see it, or don't see it, I guess, right here. It's pretty obvious if you know what it is. And if you know what it is, feel free to leave a comment and call me out on it. maybe I'll have the courage to go back and add it. But I just didn't want to deal with figuring out its animation and its mathematical model for it. Yeah, this model is just fun to walk around and look at all the little details. Alright guys, that's it for today. Like I said, we'll have more on the more look at the model in detail on the blog. Meanwhile, have a great day and highball.